There is a switch inside your trolling motor that a firmware line refuses to flip. It isn't a broken part. It's a decision made in an office. Paying for the higher-priced model doesn't add hardware to your boat. It just tells the same board it's finally allowed to do what it could always do. That's number 7 on this list. And it's the one that started this whole video. So let me widen the lens for a second. This isn't one brand being greedy. This is the entire trolling motor aisle copying a trick a car company already got caught running. The boards inside these motors got smart, the way everything got smart. A chip in a motor is cheap now, and once the chip is in there, one motor can pretend to be 4 different motors, just by changing what it's allowed to do. The marketing team saw that and got clever, and the same physical hardware started shipping under 3 or 4 names at 3 or 4 prices. In a couple of these cases, one corporation owns the motor and the fish finder and the map. The gap between what you paid for and what you actually own is where this whole video lives. By the end, you'll know 7 features you're renting on hardware you already bought. You'll know the 2 tier gaps that are actually real, and you'll know the exact model per brand where the value quietly stops making sense. One quick thing before we count. None of this is unique to fishing. The printer that refuses cheaper ink. The tractor that won't let the farmer fix it. The phone feature you rent by the month. Software-locked hardware is the defining consumer fight of the moment, and the trolling motor aisle just joined it quietly while everyone was looking at cars. So now you know to look at the water too. Number 7 is the ecosystem lock. It's the cleanest place to start because it's the most familiar. You did the responsible thing. You researched the motor. You researched the fish finder. You bought good gear from names you trust. Then you find out the good features only show up if both of them happen to wear the right matching badge. And you're standing there wondering why the 2 boxes you already paid for won't fully talk to each other. Minn Kota and Humminbird are the classic pairing here, and there's a reason they play so nicely together. They're the same company. Both Minn Kota and Humminbird are owned by Johnson Outdoors, the same corporate parent. That's exactly why the one-boat network that links them works so smoothly inside the family, and shrugs at everything outside it. I want to be careful here, because this part is real and worth saying plainly. Some of that talking to each other genuinely needs matching hardware and matching software. But the part that stings is the framing. It's sold to you as a premium feature you unlock by buying up. It's really a fence, and the fence itself is the product. The motor pushing your bow around the lake doesn't care what screen is bolted to your console. The software does. And the software was written to care on purpose. If you're wondering whether your own unit is next, so am I. Mine stopped getting updates 2 seasons back. Nobody sponsors this channel, so the Marine Electronics Survival Guide exists. It names which brands force upgrade cycles and which transducers carry over. One dead unit is 4 figures. This is $20. Either way, today's answer was free. Codes on screen. Now remember that the same parent owns both sides of this handshake. It comes back before we're done. Number 6 is the one I'd screenshot if I were you, because the receipt is public, and it's free. Every wireless device sold in this country has to be certified by the Federal Communications Commission. When it's certified, the filing goes into a public database. That filing includes internal photos of the actual board. Anyone can look. So somebody did. And here's what the paperwork actually shows. There's one single FCC filing from Johnson Outdoors, filed under the grantee code T62. And that one filing covers the remote and the controller for a whole stack of iPilot systems at once. Same remote, cataloged as IPREM15. Same controller. Then a list of model numbers hanging off it. One for the Terova, one for the PD, others too. All sharing that one certified guts. Different names on the box. Different prices on the shelf. One board in the filing. That's not a rumor from a forum. That's a federal document with Johnson Outdoors printed on the applicant line. Now I'll be fair, because this audience checks, and it should. A shared remote and controller doesn't mean every motor on that list is identical top to bottom. It means the brain they trust to talk to your boat is the same brain. The differences you're paying for live somewhere other than that certified board. And if you own an iPilot, drop the model in the comments. Because half of you are running the exact same board as the guy who paid more than you did, and neither of you was ever told. But you don't have to take my word for any of this. The site is public. You search the brand name or the FCC grantee code, and the internal photos load right up in your browser. For free, forever. This is the receipt that doesn't care how good the marketing was. Remember the phrase, same board, different sticker. It also comes back. Number 5 is Garmin's version of the fence. And it earns its own number, because Garmin runs the same play from the other direction. Garmin makes a trolling motor called the Force, and it's a genuinely strong motor, I'll give it that. Quiet, powerful, the real deal on the metal. But strong hardware isn't the question here. The question is what they make you buy around it to use all of it. But the slickest features are the ones that make the sales video look like magic, and they mostly light up when you already own a Garmin chart plotter to pair it with. No Garmin screen, no full magic. Here's the part that makes me tilt my head. Garmin also owns Navionics, one of the biggest names in marine maps. So the motor leans on the screen leans on the maps, and one company happens to sell you all three. That's not illegal, it's not even hidden. But it is a walled garden with a fishing pole. And the wall is the reason the premium experience costs what it costs. You're not just buying thrust, you're buying a membership. Now that's the thread worth pulling. Because look at what just happened across 3 items. The ecosystem lock, Johnson Outdoors. The FCC filing, Johnson Outdoors. The Garmin Garden, Garmin and Navionics, one company. 2 corporate families, running the exact same fence, at the exact same time, in the exact same aisle. That's not a coincidence. That's an industry that all read the same memo. Number 4 is the subscription. And this is where the car comparison stops being a metaphor and becomes the exact same move. A few years back, a certain German car company tried something bold. They charged people a monthly fee to switch on the heated seats already installed in the car they'd already bought. The wire was there. The heating element was there. You just had to pay rent to warm your own seat. People lost their minds. And they were right to. Now look back at those maps. Navionics runs on an annual subscription. It climbed to $49.99 a year. That's doubled from where it used to sit. And here's the part that lands. When you buy it, it quietly opts you into auto-renew. So it charges you again next year, unless you go dig out the setting and switch it off yourself. The chip in your unit doesn't expire. The maps don't fall out of the box. What expires is your permission to get the updates. On hardware you already own. For water that has not moved an inch. And if you let it lapse, the fancier features are the first thing to go dark. And it isn't only the app. The same logic runs on the map cards you slot into the unit. A premium chart card can run you a couple $100. And the fresh data on it has a shelf life too. So you're not really buying the lake, you're leasing the current version of it. The water didn't change, the paperwork did. Tell me in the comments how much your last chart card cost you, because I've seen people wince at that number. But that's the heated seat. It's just wearing a life jacket. Number 3 is the app mandatory feature. This one is quieter, but it gets under my skin more. Because there are features on these motors now that simply will not work unless you do one thing. Pull out your phone, open their app, and let it talk to the motor. Not because the motor needs your phone to physically run. The motor is right there, fully powered, perfectly capable. It's that the feature was built to route through the app. So the app becomes the gate. And a gate is a thing that can close. App support gets dropped. An update breaks the handshake. Your phone gets too new for their old code. Or their code gets too old for your new phone. And a capability you paid for, living in a motor sitting in your garage, quietly stops working. Because software on a completely different device aged out. You didn't break anything. Nothing physical failed. The permission just evaporated. And you can't fix it from your end. You can't solder a dropped app back to life. You're just sitting there. Waiting on a company to decide your motor is still worth supporting. And companies don't support old gear forever. But the motor itself would run for another decade if they'd let it. Honestly, that should worry you more than the subscription. Because at least the subscription tells you the price up front. Number 2 is Lowrance, and the reason it lands this high is simple. It's the same fence again. Third company, no shame at all about it. Lowrance makes a trolling motor called the Ghost. By itself, it's a good motor, and I mean that. But the tighter integration, the smooth talking to your electronics part, leans toward higher-tier Lowrance units. Buy in at the bottom of their screen lineup, and you feel the seams. Buy up, and they smooth out. The shaft is the same. The motor bolted to it is the same. What changes is the amount of permission, and that gets decided by which screen you happen to marry it to. Buy the cheaper screen, and the motor pretends it forgot how to do the trick. And by now, you should be hearing the pattern like a drum beat. Minn Kota and Humminbird, Garmin and Navionics, and Lowrance. 3 separate corners of this market, all charging you for the same thing. Not a better motor, a bigger keyring. Number 1 is the repair lockout. And it's number 1 because this is where the anger finally earns a spine. The spine isn't my opinion, it's the federal government's. Right there in the Minn Kota warranty language in black and white is a specific line. It says damage caused by replacement parts that don't meet the original design specs won't be covered. And to get warranty service, you're pointed back to an authorized service center or the factory. And look, some of that is normal. I get it. A company wants you using parts that actually fit. But there's a difference between a safety note and a leash. And this is the exact pattern the Federal Trade Commission investigated and named out loud. Their report to Congress was literally titled, "Nixing the Fix." And the finding was blunt. The commission concluded that manufacturers were making repairs harder than they needed to be, and that there was scant evidence justifying all the restrictions they pile on. That's the federal government, on the record. And this fight is not theoretical. It is also not over. Just this year, a right-to-repair case finally settled after dragging on for years. The farm equipment giant John Deere landed a settlement worth around $99 million over exactly this kind of repair restriction. Tractors, not trolling motors, sure, but it's the same principle wearing different mud. You bought it. You paid full price. You own it in every way the law recognizes. And the thing you own, you should be able to fix. And think about what it means that a federal agency had to write a whole report to say this out loud. It tells you how far the other direction had already drifted. That's why it's number 1. Every other lock on this list controls a feature. This one controls whether you're even allowed to keep the thing running. And yes, I know I just spent the better part of 20 minutes dragging an entire aisle for charging you to use your own stuff. So let me acknowledge something before we flip this around. That's a lot of walls. Ecosystem walls, subscription walls, app walls, repair walls. And the point was never to leave you standing in the aisle feeling stupid for owning a trolling motor. The point was to hand you the information the marketing was built to keep fuzzy. Because once you can tell the real hardware from the software fence, you stop overpaying for the fence. So here's the other half of this video. Here's where the money actually makes sense. Start with the honest one, because it's your anchor. It's the one thing on this whole list I'll tell you to pay up for. Brushless motors are real. That is not a software lie. A brushless motor genuinely runs quieter. It runs cooler. And it sips less battery than the old brushed kind. On a long day out chasing fish, that's a difference you feel in 2 places. You feel it in your ears, because the thing isn't whining at you all afternoon. And you feel it in your battery meter, because you're not limping back to the ramp on fumes. But that's the metal earning its keep, not a firmware trick. So when a brand charges more for a real brushless motor, that's hardware doing a real job. I'm not going to insult you by pretending a magnet and a winding are a firmware toggle. They're not. But here's the caveat, and it's a real one. Brands love to bury that brushless motor at the very top of a tier. A tier stuffed with every firmware toy we just spent 20 minutes tearing apart. So pay for the motor, shrug at the toys. Your call, honestly, but that's how I'd spend it. The skill is telling which line item is which. And now you've got it. Second is the antenna, because a better G-piece antenna can also be a real part, not a trick. Tighter position holding. Steadier anchor lock. And on a windy day, that is genuinely not nothing. But here's the caveat that keeps your wallet shut. A lot of what gets sold as a premium navigation upgrade isn't a better antenna at all. It's the subscription and the ecosystem lock we already covered. It's just wearing a hardware costume. So ask the one question that ends the argument at the counter. Is this a physical part, or is this a permission? The antenna is a part. The yearly map fee is a permission. Never pay antenna money for a permission. And third is the real move. It costs you nothing but a little patience. Buy for the hardware, and buy at the tier right before the ecosystem features start driving the price. Across all three of these brands, the pattern is identical. The middle of the lineup is where the real motor, the real shaft, the real thrust, all live. The top of the lineup is where you start paying mostly for the fence. So find the model where the metal peaks and the firmware toys begin. And stop one step short of the badge. That's the sweet spot. On every brand, every time. And one last thing worth knowing if you already own a unit. Look at that transducer feeding the picture on your screen. It's the part actually doing the work under your boat. And it's very likely made by a company called Airmar. Airmar supplies most of the major fish finder brands. Garmin, Lowrance, Humminbird, and more. The same sensor under a lot of different logos. You might have 3 buddies at the ramp swearing by 3 different brands. But there's a real chance all 3 are staring at data from the same Airmar part. Which means the thing scanning the bottom was never really the badge on the display. It was Airmar the whole time. And paying triple for a nicer sticker over the same Airmar sensor is the exact game. The one we've been naming this whole time. Here's the one line to carry out of here. On a modern trolling motor, you are no longer just buying a motor. You are buying a set of permissions. And the badge you pay extra for mostly decides which permissions get switched on. So walk into that aisle with new eyes. Every price jump, you ask the same thing. What did this actually add? More metal or more permission? And you make them prove it. Real motor, real antenna, real shaft, real thrust. Yes, a line of code cosplaying as a feature. No, you don't have to be an engineer to win this one. You just have to know the difference between a part and a permission. A part is something you can hold. A permission is something they can take back. And you know the difference now. The wall was never as solid as the sticker made it look. YouTube thinks you'll like one of these next videos, so go click it. And if you made it all the way to the end of this one, do the obvious thing and subscribe, because the list never gets shorter.